We have a lot of coaching news to dig into today, and honestly, it feels like the Dallas Cowboys are in the middle of a full staff makeover. Christian Parker is building his defensive staff from the ground up, and in the process, some notable assistants are being let go. This offseason has been nonstop when it comes to changes, and today we're going to break down what it all means, who might be leaving, and what the future could look like under Parker's leadership. One of the biggest stories we've been tracking is Lunda Wells, and the fact that he is interviewing for the Pittsburgh Steelers' offensive coordinator job. He's currently at the Shrine Game as one of the head coaches, and that's not the only coordinator role he's been linked to. He also interviewed for the Washington Commanders' offensive coordinator position, which ultimately went to an internal promotion. That situation already had some red flags for me, because it felt like the Commanders were looking for an experienced play caller, and instead they chose the quarterback coach. Now, with Wells interviewing in Pittsburgh, I'm a bit more concerned. Under Mike McCarthy, it seems likely that the offensive coordinator role could be more of a non-play calling position, and that could fit Wells' background better, but it also raises the question of whether the Cowboys could actually lose him. The connection between Wells and McCarthy is real and obvious. Wells has been working closely with McCarthy since he arrived in Dallas, and his resume includes time as an assistant in various roles, including at LSU and with the Giants. He's been a tight ends coach and an offensive line assistant, and he's built a strong reputation as a coach who could develop players. The issue is that a move from tight ends coach to offensive coordinator is a promotion, and you can't really block that kind of career step. Wells has already proven he can handle responsibilities at a higher level, and he's earned the right to chase coordinator opportunities. What worries me is that if Pittsburgh offers him a role that is clearly defined as a non-play calling offensive coordinator job, it might be too tempting to turn down. Mike McCarthy's history suggests he might still want to call plays, but it would not be a shock if he opted to delegate that responsibility, especially with the way coaching staffs have been structured lately. The Cowboys would need to be prepared for the possibility that Wells could leave, and they would have to decide if they want to pursue another coach to fill the tight ends coach role, or if they want to promote from within. The reality is that the NFL is full of quarterbacks coaches being promoted to coordinator positions, even when they don't have the traditional offensive coordinator background, and Wells fits that trend in a way that makes him marketable. Moving over to the defensive side, the news about Aaron White-Cotton is significant. He has accepted the defensive line coaching job with the Tennessee Titans, and his title includes run game coordinator. That title sounds like a promotion, but in the NFL, run game coordinator isn't really a full coordinator role the way offensive or defensive coordinators are. It's more of a title that adds responsibility, but not necessarily more authority. From the Cowboys' perspective, this move doesn't feel like a major loss, because it allows Christian Parker to build his staff with his own vision, rather than being tied to a coach who was brought in under the previous regime. White-Cotton was clearly a coach who fit Robert Saleh's scheme, and we saw that in both San Francisco and New York. He was part of the staff that brought that style to Dallas, and he was effective in that role. But the concern is whether he fits what Parker wants to do defensively. Parker is building something new, and it's reasonable to think he might want to bring in coaches who are more aligned with his philosophy. The Cowboys could have tried to keep White-Cotton, but they chose not to block his departure. That decision also opens the door for the Cowboys to look for someone who can work directly with Parker, and that makes sense given that Parker is taking over and trying to establish his own identity as a head coach. One of the reasons this move makes sense is that it allows Parker to have real input into the staff building process, rather than simply inheriting a group of assistants. It's rare for this organization to allow a new head coach that kind of freedom, but we're in uncharted territory now. It's a new era, and Parker is getting a chance to set the tone and build the culture he wants. White-Cotton leaving might actually be a positive sign that the Cowboys are serious about a clean break and a fresh start. Even though White-Cotton was one of the few staff members who I thought could stay, and it would not be a problem, the bigger picture suggests this is the right move for the team's long-term direction. Looking at potential replacements, one name that has come up is Marcus Dixon, who is currently the defensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings. He has already interviewed for the Cowboys' defensive line coaching job, and his background includes a stint with the Rams and the Broncos, where he overlapped with Christian Parker. That connection is important because familiarity and trust matter when a new head coach is assembling his staff. Dixon has been praised for his ability to develop players, which is a key quality for a coach who will be working with a defensive line that has high expectations. The one complication with Dixon is that he might not be available if other teams make offers. Washington recently hired Dante Jones as their defensive coordinator, and Jones and Dixon work together in Minnesota. That could create a scenario where Dixon is pulled in another direction, or it could create competition for his services. Still, he is a name to monitor closely because he fits the profile of a coach who could thrive under Parker and help build the kind of defense the Cowboys want to run. On the coaching staff front, there have also been several assistants let go, and none of them were a surprise. Dave Baranzi, Andre Curtis, and David Overreet II, who served as the linebackers coach, passing game coordinator, and secondary coach, respectively, have all been told they will not return. These were coaches who had strong ties to the previous defensive coordinator, and their departure is not shocking given the new direction the Cowboys are heading. It does leave some questions about continuity, but it also creates the opportunity for a full reset. The fact that those coaches were part of the previous regime means that Parker is likely looking for coaches who are aligned with his vision, rather than simply keeping people because they are familiar. It is worth noting that there are still 4 coaches under contract who are technically allowed to seek other jobs or stay if they want to. Names like Darian Thompson, J.J. Clark, Brian Bing, and Tanzel Smart are still in the mix, but none of them seem like locks to remain. J.J. Clark might have the best chance to stay because his background fits what the organization likes, but even he might be replaced if Parker decides he wants his own people in place. It is possible that none of these coaches return and that the Cowboys end up with an entirely new defensive staff next season. That might sound dramatic, but it could actually be the right move. A fresh staff can bring new ideas, new energy, and a new approach to a defense that has struggled with consistency. The key will be finding coaches who could develop players, build a strong scheme, and create accountability. That is the kind of foundation Parker will need if he wants to build something that lasts. The interview news keeps coming, and the Cowboys are looking at a number of young, up-and-coming defensive minds. Shane Bowen, the former Giants defensive coordinator, and Denzel Martin, the Steelers' outside linebackers coach, have both interviewed for roles. Both of these coaches are under 41 years old, which suggests that Parker is looking for coaches who can grow with him and bring modern ideas to the table. Bowen has experience under Mike Vrabel and has been a defensive coordinator, while Martin has worked his way up through the Steelers system and has been praised for his coaching development. All of this points to a potential shift in defensive philosophy, possibly toward more 5-man front looks. Parker comes from a background with Vic Fangio, and many of the coaches he is interviewing have experience with 5-man fronts. That could be a positive development for the Cowboys, given their personnel and the way the NFL is evolving. The difference between 4-3 and 3-4 schemes is less important than the overall defensive approach, but the emphasis on 5-man fronts suggests the Cowboys may be trying to build a more physical, run-stopping identity. At the end of the day, this offseason is shaping up to be a pivotal moment for the Cowboys. Christian Parker is building his staff, and the decisions being made now will define the identity of this team for years to come. The question is whether he can put together a staff that not only fits his vision, but also helps him maximize the talent on the roster. It is a big task, but it is also an exciting one, because it feels like the Cowboys are finally willing to embrace a new direction and give a coach the chance to truly build something. As we keep moving through this coaching carousel, the big picture is starting to take shape, and it is becoming clear that the Cowboys are not just making a few tweaks. They are reshaping the entire defensive identity. The interviews happening right now are not just about filling roles. They're about finding coaches who can bring a cohesive philosophy and a clear vision. That's why the names being mentioned are so interesting. These are coaches who are not only young and energetic, but also steeped in modern defensive concepts that prioritize versatility and adaptability. One of the names that keeps popping up is Rennell Williams, and he is someone who has been on the Cowboys' radar for a while. Williams has built a reputation as a defensive coach who understands how to build pressure packages and develop a scheme that can adapt to different offenses. His work has been noticed by other teams, which is why he has been linked to multiple interviews. The fact that the Cowboys are considering him suggests they are serious about building a defense that can be aggressive without sacrificing discipline. Williams has that kind of balance, and that is something the Cowboys have been missing at times. Another name that is generating buzz is Shane Bowen. Bowen's coaching journey has been closely tied to Mike Vrabel, and he has experience as a defensive coordinator at the NFL level. Some people have questioned his performance in New York, but he has shown he can lead a defense and manage a complex scheme. In Tennessee, he seemed more comfortable and more effective, which might indicate that he's a coach who thrives in the right environment. If the Cowboys are looking for someone who can bring structure and modern concepts to the linebacker room, Bowen could be an intriguing fit. Then there is Denzel Martin, the Steelers' outside linebackers coach. Martin's story is a classic example of someone who has climbed the ladder through hard work and consistency. He started in college coaching, then moved into the NFL as a scouting assistant, and gradually worked his way up. He has been praised for his ability to develop players and for his attention to detail. That is exactly the kind of coach the Cowboys need if they want to improve their linebacker play and build a more disciplined, physical unit. Martin's background in Pittsburgh also means he has been exposed to one of the most respected defensive cultures in the league, and that experience could be valuable in Dallas. One of the things that stands out about these coaching candidates is their age and energy. They are all 41 or younger, which is a sign that the Cowboys are looking for coaches who can grow with the team and bring new ideas. This is not a, let's just keep the same staff and hope it works situation. This is a deliberate effort to build something new. It is also a recognition that the NFL is changing quickly, and teams need coaches who are willing to innovate and adapt. The Cowboys appear to be embracing that reality, and that could be a positive sign for the future. The shift toward a five-man front look is something that cannot be ignored. It aligns with the type of personnel the Cowboys have, and it could help them build a defense that is more physical and better equipped to handle power-running teams. The NFL is full of offenses that want to impose their will in the trenches, and having a defense that can match that physicality is crucial. A five-man front also allows for more versatility in how the Cowboys deploy their linebackers and defensive ends. It can create mismatches and allow for more creative pressure packages. At the same time, the Cowboys need to make sure that the shift does not come at the expense of speed and coverage. The NFL is still a passing league, and defenses must be able to handle quick, explosive offenses. That means the coaching staff must be able to design a system that can be flexible, switching between fronts and coverages without becoming predictable. The coaches being considered have experience with modern defensive schemes, which suggests they could build that kind of system. The key will be finding coaches who can blend aggression with discipline and who could develop players in a way that fits the overall vision. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL rumor mill, whispers are swirling that the Dallas Cowboys could be making a jaw-dropping acquisition. Alvin Kamara, the dynamic running back whose versatility has made him one of the most feared offensive weapons in recent years. Sources close to the situation suggest that Dallas is exploring every possible avenue to bring Kamara into their backfield, a move that would instantly transform the team's offensive identity and create matchup nightmares for opponents. Imagine Kamara lining up alongside Tony Pollard, blending power, speed, and receiving ability in a dual-threat backfield that could redefine the Cowboys' approach to the ground game. For years, Dallas has relied on a stable rotation of backs, but none have offered the kind of multidimensional impact Kamara consistently delivers. From his elusive cuts to his ability to catch passes out of the backfield, Kamara brings a level of unpredictability that few defenses can prepare for, and insiders suggest that the Cowboys front office sees him as the missing piece to push their offense into elite territory. Fans and analysts alike are buzzing at the mere possibility. The potential pairing of Kamara's creative, fluid style with Dallas's established offensive line could produce highlight reel plays on a weekly basis. Imagine Kamara breaking into the open field after a perfectly timed block or slipping through a crowded defensive line for a key third down conversion. The synergy with the Cowboys quarterback could also open new passing lanes, giving the offense an entirely new dimension and forcing opposing coordinators to rethink defensive schemes. Of course, the logistics of bringing Kamara to Dallas are anything but simple. Questions about cap space, long-term contracts, and draft picks have fueled intense speculation. Yet, if even a fraction of these rumors bear out, the Cowboys' backfield could become one of the most electrifying in the league, blending power, agility, and playmaking like never before. The NFL world is watching closely, waiting to see if this potential blockbuster move will materialize. One thing is certain. If Kamara does join Dallas, the league's defenses may never look at a running back the same way again. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.